much. So, so today, I'm going to be starting with the basics. That's the basics and what we can ever think of. Like I'm going to try as much as possible to make it very, very plain. Um, while we are still on the code, please I would love you to like share the line and what's it called, and just hit the double tap on your screen continuously to make this available to as many people as we can. So just as stated on um on the flyer, we're going to be it's going to be a very, very interactive session. I'm just going to be showing us practically, theoretically, how and how you can be a better audio engineer by understanding the basics. So before we start, I always love to acknowledge the maker and the one who made this day very much available to us. So glory to Jesus. Salabarade vanates. Thank you, Jesus, for a moment like this. Thank you, Father, because we understand that audio engineering is beyond what is beyond just the tech alone. We understand that it's spiritual. We understand. Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for the knowledge that will be impacted today. Thank you because there is going to be insights. We are grateful because of there is going to be a new realm of sound. We are grateful because of people are coming to a body of truth, and light is being made manifest in their minds. We are grateful, Jesus, because of tonight's session is going to be a mind blowing one. Thank you, Father, for such an amazing moment. We are grateful. All right, so um, I'm going to be starting with the basics. Yes, so now when it comes to audio engineering, um, audio engineering is a very, 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 very strategic field, and it's a field where people like to run away from it because of they think that it is a field centered on just carrying speakers and all of that. I remember that I also started when I joined. I was privileged to join the audio team in my former church, and they were like, "Okay, Pastor Richard, okay, I'm going to be assisting them in the sound. You're welcome, Mayhem. You're welcome. Um, you're welcome." So you're welcome, everyone. So I remember that I was just invited. Okay, you're going to be joining the team, or I was like, me join the team. I cannot join the team, or we have to. So I just joined, and since then that was 2019, and since then it has been an amazing one. It has been an amazing one. You're welcome, everyone. I can see you, Peter. I can see you, Beauty. I can see you. I can see everyone. So if you're just joining, kindly share. Yeah, kindly share. I can see Yola. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to be going deeper into um what the class is all about, and it's 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 going to be very, very theoretical but practical. And joining, yes, this is the first time I'm hosting a live session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor. I'm so glad to see us. So I trust that tonight's session is going to be very, very impactful and very, very educative. I'm trusting God that what we please at the end of the class, what all right. So at the end of this class, I'm going to be demystifying a lot of myths, and which is why you need to be an audio engineer. What are the steps you need to take to becoming the very best? And one thing that I have understood is that audio engineers are very much they are lifesavers, and so people are oblivious of that fact that audio engineers are not just speaker carriers like people. Because I remember that when I joined the field, that was in 2019. I joined as a volunteer in church, and That was my pastor just reached out to me, okay, you have to join the team and all of that. But I had this notion that audio engineers are just people that carry speakers. This cannot be carrying speakers, oh. But it was later on I started realizing that we actually shape the atmosphere of what's it called of any environment. So even the phones that we are using, the fact that I'm able to communicate to us and you can also hear me is due to the fact that an audio engineer was invited by the phone's manufacturer, and they collaborated to making sure that the speaker, the microphone of this particular device is very, very okay. So back to the basics. Who is an audio engineer? What is even audio engineering in its sense? So now, first things first, what you need to understand is that audio engineering has to do with first the capturing, the recording, and the reproduction of sound so that it can be pleasing to the ear, right? So now, one thing you must know is that without capturing a particular sound, you cannot record it. So first things first, you must be able to capture. That's why if you've been privileged to be probably the mixing and all of that, you will understand that every good mix starts from the source. So every good mix starts from the source. So if if you're probably you're good and all of that in the audio space and all, and you notice that when you mix a band, you mix a different band, you know that the it's always different due to the people that are always probably the people singing. Do you understand? Because of the source is very, very important. Now, this is another part of the source. Now, if we're talking about the source, that's the gadgets that we use. Those are very, very important. Now, tonight's class is going to be based much more on the basics. So now, just like I stated, first things first, you need to know that anything that has to do with audio has to be captured. So you must capture it before you can record this, before you can now reproduce that particular that sound system. Do you understand? And there are there are actually different ways to what's it called to capture your sound. Do you understand? So now there are actually different ways. And first things first that you need to know is that you must understand the basics. You must understand why you are an audio engineer. Do you understand? You must understand why you are an audio engineer, because I realize that people are very much, they just want to be an operator. They just want to be an operator, and being an operator does not qualify you being an audio engineer. An audio engineer creates an atmosphere, especially, for example, in the church setting, in every eventful event, right? You notice that an audio engineer makes sure that that um that system is very much optimized for the audience. So whatever you are doing, you must know that your audience are your first priority. Do you understand? Your audience are your first priority. So now, when it comes to to saving your audience, and that's why I'm going to try as much as well to touch on communication. I know that most times what's it called, our audience probably they say sound is bad and this and that. Most times they don't really know. Just like you're communicating with a doctor now, you say why is blood gushing out, and I'm just giving an example, but the doctor knows what it is. Do you get? So the doctor will not all of a sudden change it for you as you don't know. So that's why it's very, very important that we learn to communicate. I'm going to try as much as possible to go to that to get to that part of this field, because I know that a lot of people, they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to communicate. They just think that you must understand emotional intelligence. People just come, they just tell you personally, I'm not always okay. Like nobody's always okay when people tell you that you're doing a bad, you're doing. Do you understand? Because they don't really know how to communicate it. They're just expressing their feelings. Do you understand? But let's leave that for that. And I believe that we have much more of audio engineers here, and I'm going to try as much as possible um to just calm down a bit, and let's see how we can stay together. So I started off that an audio engineer shapes any atmosphere, and so there are things that you have to pay attention to. There are things that you have to pay attention to, and one of them is the basis. Now, you must understand that there are four parts to being an audio engineer. Now, before that, I'm going to talk about three aspects that makes up the audio in its sense. Now, there's something called memory, there's something called reference. I've taught it in one of my videos, but I'm going to practically explain this. Now, yeah, I still taught it again of recent where I said that there's nothing like bad sound. Do you understand? There's nothing like bad sound. Now, what people call bad sound is as a result of memory. I remember that there was a church I went to. Now, pay attention, oh, pay attention. There's a church I went to. Now, their speakers are actually distorting. That is, their woofers have been are damaged and all of that. But they love it that way. Look at another scenario. Now, if you notice, all this, they some people they add vocal mics to the subwoofers. They say they want it to be heavy. They're always asking for one thing. Ejeko, if I sometimes they're always very much they always say we want the bass, they want the bass. And this base that they are asking for, you need to know that it is as a result of, let me use what, bad memory. So that means they've so much memorized a certain kind of sound that they always want, okay, I want the bass, I want the bass. And I'm like, wait, calm down first. Calm down. Your vocal range cannot really project in that. Why do you now need a bass? Thank you, Holy Spirit. Now this takes me to frequency, but I want to try as much as possible to touch on the basics. I am trying as much as possible to touch on the basics. So we're also going to go to amplitude and all of that. But one thing you must know is that frequency is the foundation. Now, frequency also has to do with equalization. So they both work hand in hand. And this takes me to the part where I want to explain that human ears are our ear, but I know I'm going to say something that is very, very, I know that they said it right. That but each time I read it, there's always this nudge that should I accept it? Should I not accept it? Now, our human ear ranges from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That is what science discovered, right? And they say that as you begin to grow older, you begin to lose some certain frequencies in the high region. That is from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Your as you begin to grow older, that is you begin to drop frequencies like 20. I think they say it's only babies from what's it called? From zero, let's say from their month age to 1 year, 2 year, blah blah blah, that can perceive those extended frequencies. But as you begin to grow older, and yes, I've been seeing it, and which is those talking drummers that expose themselves to high amplitude of sound, they keep telling you I need oh, it's not bright, and they need treble and all of that. So that's where orientation comes into play. That's where orientation comes into play. So now, staying on, I was saying something about memory and reference. Now, when it comes to memory, now you must know that I'm coming back to frequency and equalization, right? So now, when it comes to memory, you must understand that memory has to do with an exposure to a certain kind of sound over the time. So now, when you've memorized, for example, now when you are hearing this police siren, you have already memorized that when you hear wah wah wah, that is police is coming, right? But thank you, Samuel. So as soon as you hear those sound, your memory, as that is your mind has already captured that sound, and you're already in tune to what, that when police is coming you always hear that sound. Same thing for the ambulance, right? When you hear is it ping? Yes, yes, ping. So you know that it's an ambulance approaching you. Do you get? So you know it's an ambulance. So that is your memory has been framed to that particular sound. That means you already have an understanding that okay, this particular sound sounds this way. That's the same thing for in a live sound whatsoever, your churches and all, you've already been in tune with a particular set of sounds. So you just know that okay, I want my vocal to sound. That's why some people, you know, those zumba, all of that, I was hearing something one day and I was smiling. He said if they've not heard feedback, that is I don't know if most of us know feedback, and there are feedback in different frequencies. Those high frequencies, that is those 4K if they've not heard it, their sound is not good. And I'm like, this is a bad memory. And so to us, we know that it's it's not a good sound. And this comes to the other part, which is reference. So that's why we now have something called reference. So now reference in a sense is that okay, you are trying to you have a good you have a good what's it called, a good a good sound. That is, when I mean good sound, I mean a sound that has been tested by different professionals in the field, and they already say that okay, this kind of sound is a a good sound. So now you as an audio and as an audio personnel, you pay attention and say okay, I'm referencing this particular sound. That is, I want to imitate this kind of sound. Do you get? So that means you are reframing your mind to pay attention to this kind of sound. Is what I'm saying making sense? Is it making sense? Is it making sense? I want to know if I'm communicating. If what I'm saying is making sense, let me know. All right, thank you very much. So some people are already now. So now when it comes to that reference sound, so that means you say that okay, I want to what's it called? I want to pay attention to this kind of sound so that I can have a good reference and so that my memory can be reoriented. Oh my god. Do you understand? So that my memory is now being, so when you have a good reference, all right, all right. But I hear that, I know that. Okay, so let me slow down a bit. Let me slow down a bit. So now I'm going to know where you will get it. So now memory, right? I've explained that. So now reference, that means you are trying to say okay, you have a what's it called? Just like okay, let's do it this way. Now we have Mbappe in football, right? We have Mbappe and we have Cristiano Ronaldo. There was a time where Mbappe was saying that his role model is Cristiano Ronaldo, right? And all of that. Now Mbappe's reference became Cristiano Ronaldo. So that means he started envisioning himself as Ronaldo, how Ronaldo plays, the system he puts together to making sure that what's it called? Because of he has seen a level of discipline in Ronaldo. Do you get? So that means now there's something in the general audio space. We have a particular reference that is when a sound is good, you know that okay, some certain frequencies has to drop down so that it can be acceptable in generally. Do you get? And this takes me to the master reference. Now a master reference has to do with the natural sound. That is, now you need to know that every equipment, like now I'm talking now, there's a particular timbre that is that's the my own quality of of and texture of my voice. That's the timbre. So that means every equipment, every stuff has their own timbre, that is their own texture that you want to replicate into your system. Do you get? So that is what you are doing as when you get your audio system. You get? So that's the first thing you must know as an audio engineer, that by the time they give me this mixer, what am I doing? I'm trying to translate that natural sound of of, for example, the talking drum into the system so that my loudspeakers can reproduce them efficiently. That's what we call our master reference. Do you get? So that means it is the natural sound that we are trying to bring the tone into the system, the mixer, and reproduce it, and so that it is okay for the loudspeaker, so that the audience can perceive it properly. Do you get it? Do you get it? So we have that as the natural sound. So that's where people make it, and this is where we now go to harmonics and fundamentals. So there's something called the harmonic frequency and the fundamental frequency. That is, every timbre, like me now, my vocal range now, it has a fundamental frequency. Do you get? It has a fundamental frequency. I don't know. I think I perceive that I should touch frequency very, very soon. But it is very, very important that we pay attention to, because frequency is the basics of whatever we are doing, right? So frequency is the basics of whatsoever we are doing. So it is very, very important that we pay attention to that. Frequency is very, very important. Now, for every equipment, for every element, now when I say element, I mean vocals, uh, drums, drums, the keyboard, the omele, every percussion instrument, and all of that, they have their fundamentals. Do you understand? And so I see people make this mistake every time when they are mixing, and they tend to for example now, toms, their fundamentals are around 180, 200, 250. So their fundamentals are around there. Now, when you roll off from 20 hertz to about, let's say, you now roll off say about 180 hertz, and on your frequency spectrum, that is your RTA meter, it's already showing you that, bro, you're already taking me out. You're taking me out. You don't have to. You're taking me out. By the time that's when you now notice that your tongue is sounding. It's not giving you that particular tone. And one thing, just like I stated, one thing you are conscious of as an audio engineer is that you are bringing the natural sound of that particular element into your sound. This guy, so this guy is just going to be like, um it's just meant to be like, oh yeah, give me, let me just help you reproduce it. Do you get? But most time people, they don't know what to, they don't even know how it sound naturally, so they just come here and do anyhow. So this is what, anybody that you see that their mixes are good and all of that, just know that they understand something, which is they understand that every element has their fundamental frequency, and you don't want to touch that particular frequency. Do you understand? So now let's stay much more on frequency now. Now, just like I stated, I said that our human ear ranges from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So now, as an audio engineer, because I believe I'm talking to audio engineer, audio enthusiasts, and all, your fundamental frequency, it is, sorry, I was saying something different. So from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz is the human, that's where our human ear ranges from, right? Now I'm just going to try and explain. Now from 20 hertz to 60 hertz, you have your sub bass frequency. Do you understand? You have your sub bass frequency. Yeah, we'll see. I'll see give time for questions. You have your sub bass frequency. Now this particular frequency, you want it to have the depth. It carries the depth. That's where our subwoofers are generated from, so that it can give that energetic feeling and all of that. Then from 60 hertz to 100, 120, 125 hertz, we have the bass frequency, bass frequency, right? So that's where we have elements like, let's say like okay, from 60 hertz, that's where we have our talking drums, we have our bass guitar, our our talking drum, bass guitar. Well, they can stay in those frequencies. Now, those particular frequencies are for the what's it called? The the base texture of every element. Do you understand? So that's where those particular, then from 125 hertz to about 250 hertz, you have your low mid frequency. Then from 250 hertz to 500 hertz, you have your mid frequency. This particular mid frequency, so I was supposed, sorry, let me talk about the low mid frequency. So the low mid frequency is for you know that it is growing. Now you can see that from your sub bars to bars, then from your bars you have your low mid. Okay, so you say low mid, so that is, it is still between the low and the mid, so it's still in that region. So that is any element that has those region, that is, you want to be able to create a balance between the depth of the voice and also the clarity. So that's where it now takes us into the what's it called, the mid frequencies. That is, so I said that the low mid frequency ranges from 125 hertz to 250, right? So from 250 hertz to 500 hertz, we have the mid frequency. This frequency is very, very important. It's very, very important. Like, this frequency occurs because of, you always need clarity. Now, if okay, this mic is actually picking my voice and all without any equalization and all, but if I was probably reproduce it, I always want to look out for the mid frequency, because the mid frequency is where our vocal region stays for that clarity. So if you want clarity in your vocals, you always want, or in any element, you always want to take out the mid frequencies so that you can have space. And that's why any mix, for example, try it out, you are what's it called, you are mixing whatsoever, and you boost a particular frequency around this range from 250 to 500, they have presence in that particular mix. So that's why mixing is actually relative. So some people, they tend to like boost that particular mid frequency, because when you boost that particular mix, it brings up that what's it called, and when you take it down, it also calms that place and makes other elements in the mix to sit well. Do you understand? Oh my god, do you get what I'm saying? Check any mix, check whatsoever. So if you listen to a particular mix and say it's excessively loud, just check, there would have been a boost around the mid range. And so we have our what's it called, our upper mid range, that's from 500 to 2 kilohertz. We have our upper mid range. Now this particular range is for, we have what's it called, um so this particular range is for, it has a disadvantage and an advantage. Just like I said, all frequencies have their own, depending on the particular elements that needs to sit there. So now for this particular frequency, that's from 500 hertz to 2 kilohertz, we have they call it the resonance frequency. That is, it has this particular texture that is for, it has this um higher clarity, and also it has like this harsh kind of feel. So you also want to be careful when you are playing around that region. Do you understand? You also want to be careful when you are playing around that region. Do you get what I'm saying? So now, from, that's the higher high mid, right? So if you notice on some of you analog mixer, you always see that particular frequency they put I don't know if it's high mid they call it, but on this one here, it's only mid frequency they call it. At times they don't even put frequency here. Do you get? So you always have to be careful when you are working with the high mid, because the high mid frequency, especially 1K and 2K, has a tone that you have to be very, because even in toning in toning the room of every acoustic space. You have to also pay attention to that frequency, because that frequency has a way of, no, it's not sibilance, it's not sibilance. I'm coming to sibilance. So so your high mid frequency here is for, um there's a particular word I'm looking for, but I'm just going to leave it as, let's just leave it as higher clarity. I'll get the particular word. So now that's for the high mid. Then we have the highs. Now this highs is for brilliance. That is, you just want that sparkle in your mix. That's where you have from 2K to 5K or 4K. So you have that brilliance. Then, so that is, you just want to give that, okay, let's have that presence in the mix. Then from 5K to 16, 20K, you have what we call a presence, and this is where sibilance comes into play. So sibilance has to do with that so now this like if you have what's it called, a spectrum analyzer wherever, and as you play, what's it called, as I'm doing this, you hear it that it's from that 5K, 6K, 8K. So that's where we have the sibilance. And most times, depending on the room, that is when I mean the room, that is the atmospheric condition of the song that you are mixing. I always love, especially for vocals, that is ministers, I always love that sibilance. It has a way, because it's also, and I notice that most people, they always take out this particular frequency, and I'm like, let this mix be more food now. We need it. Like as I'm talking now, can you hear? You can hear that sibilance. You can also hear my low region also. So that's why mixing is referential. So people have their own reference, but that's why people that I want to leave this, I want you to at least leave this session knowing fully well that your fundamentals are very, very important. And so when you are mixing any vocal, you must know that your fundamentals are very, very, very important. They are very, very important. Do you get it? Do you get it? So if you have questions probably on this part, you can start dropping them so that you don't forget. So I'm going to be going to the other part now, which is like focal. And we're still coming back to frequency, because in frequencies where we have the equalization, and those are what makes your mix a mix. Do you understand? So, and I know that most of us here are, we are, or people maybe they are anticipating to be maybe mix engineers and all, right? But there's more to, and if you are here and probably you are an enthusiast, that's probably you're just starting out and all. I'm just going to be mentioning some fields. There are different fields in the audio engineering space that you can actually venture into. Now we have the live sound, and that is, we have the live sound engineer. That is people that has to do it. That's where you have your FOH engineer, you have your stage mix engineer, you have your stage tech, and all. Then you also have what's called the studio engineer. Yeah, you have your studio engineer. You have audio for broadcast, that is broadcasting and film, broadcasting and radio, all of that. Yes. So you also have, yeah, there's broadcast in live sound, and there's also broadcast in radio publication and all. So I've mentioned three. Then you also have what's it called, system. Oh wow, my spiritual father is here. Thank you so much, Apostle, for joining the live. Thank you so much, Apostle. Thank you so much, sir. So thank you, sir. It's another, sir. Oh my god. Please, can everyone appreciate my spiritual father, Apostle Gabriel Clement? Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor. I am grateful. I am very, very grateful, sir. Please, wherever you are, just say thank you, Apostle Gabriel Clement. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. All right, so we have what's it called? We have broadcast for film. We also have audio engineers are needed in what's it called? in what's it called, in films. So there's something called surround sound, and it is also introduced in live sound also. That is, you are trying to make sure that what's it called, um it is surrounded, that is.
Alright, due to how long the video is, we'll continue in the next video.